This is Pretend Farmer Girl, and today I'm making my homemade bread. Today I'm going to use half white flour and half red wheat berries that I'm going to grind up. Sometimes I do half and half, sometimes I do it all, but today I'm just going to do half and half. I am not one of those people that can just throw some things together and make stuff. I have to have a recipe and I follow a certain way. So it has worked so good for me. This recipe is amazing. I haven't bought bread from the store for probably about a year, and this is just what we use. It's very good for sandwiches, toast, or just a snack. We love it. Anytime my husband's had other bread, he says it's far inferior. So I'm going to tell you the recipe first, and then I'll show you how I do it. This is for 2 loaves, 2.5 cups of water. The water should be between 90 and 100 degrees. 2 tablespoons yeast, 2/3 cup sugar or a ½ cup honey, 5.5 cups flour, 1/2 cup wheat gluten, a ½ cup potato flakes, 4 tablespoons non-instant dry milk, 2 tablespoons oil, 2 tablespoons vinegar, and 2 teaspoons salt. Just one thing on the milk powder. The milk powder is the most expensive part for me, so I've been experimenting with, instead of just having the milk powder, I actually bought some powdered milk. I know it's not the same thing, but so far it's been working fine, and it's such a big cost savings that that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get set up and I'll be right back. 2.5 cups of water. I like to stir and blend and everything, so what I usually do is I just mix my sugar in, dissolve it first. Temperature's between 90 and 100 degrees right now. After I stir that up a little bit, this is my 2 tablespoons of yeast. I just kind of mix it lightly, and I'm going to set this aside and let it just start doing its thing. Back in the days when I wasn't sure how to do this, I would set it aside and know, okay, if it foams up, it's good and I'm ready to go, and if it doesn't, I just toss that out. But so far, when I've been measuring the temperature and letting it sit, I have had no issues whatsoever of my bread not turning out because of the yeast. Okay, so this is my next step. This is my Vitamix. I've had this Vitamix for probably about, I think, like 12 to 14 years now. It's amazing. I love this. This is the dry container, and I'm going to put some of my hard red wheat in, and I'm going to blend it up. And the neat thing about this is you can actually see it change into flour, obviously because you're grinding it. But I can usually tell when it's done, not by the looks of it, because the looks are deceiving, because it can look done but it can still feel grainy. But actually it starts to get look a little moist on the inside, and that's usually when it's about done. So I am going to grind this up, and I'll be right back because I don't want to have you listen to this noise. I might turn it on just a little bit in the middle of it so that you can see the difference. Okay. Here you can see how it starts to get a little moist on the inside. So there's my first batch. It ground for about 1.5 minutes. When I used to do this and I really wasn't counting the time, you can tell there's a difference because at first it looks ground, but it's still too grainy for wheat. Grinding the wheat, I ended up putting in 4 cups of the hard red wheat berries, and I ended up getting a little under 6 cups of flour, so just if you're wondering. So on the left is the ground wheat, the right is the white. I had a big bag of it, so I've just been using it up. Next I'm going to put in the ½ cup of wheat gluten, ½ cup of my potato flakes, And then this is my dry milk and my salt that I put in there. And of course, like I already said, I love to mix, so I always mix it all up before I add the liquids. And I'm so excited to show you my liquids. This is what I get excited about whenever I'm using this recipe for bread. Is look, that is the yeast, and I would say it's probably been less than 5 minutes. I just ground the wheat up and I mixed the ingredients together, and that is what the yeast looks like. So that gets me really excited because I know that my yeast is at the right temperature. And I did add the sugar into it, so it had food. I think you can just add it by itself and it will work, but I'm impatient and I like to see it work quickly. So the next thing I'm going to add in is the vinegar and the oil, and then I will add in the yeast. Okay, I put the vinegar and oil in, and now I'm adding this yummy yeast. Yummy because it worked. I've made many of loaves back in the day that didn't work because I guess I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm going to mix this all up, show you what the consistency is in, and then I will start kneading. So here's my dough. It's pretty good. It's soft. I have it on some wheat there that I am going to knead. I've learned with this bread that the more I knead it, the better it is, obviously. I don't have a KitchenAid, which I would love to have one of these days, but in the meantime, just kneading it by hand, probably 7 to 10 minutes is what I try to do. If I get too tired, then I won't go that long, but it's good exercise. So for kneading, all I do is I just pull it forward and I push it, and then I quarter turn it and pull it, and I push, I turn it, and you just keep incorporating it, squishing it. I actually don't mind kneading. It is a little bit of work sometimes, but it's kind of a nice workout. So you can see already that the dough is starting to get a nice texture. So I am going to turn this off. I'll knead this, and I will be honest and tell you how long I actually kneaded it when I'm done, and I'll be back. Alright, well, I did knead it for 10 minutes. I even have proof. I got my timer out. Came out really well. You can just see how it looks. Now I'm going to set it to rise. So I'm going to pour a little bit of oil in the bowl. Usually put it upside down first. Roll it around. Roll it over. And this is the next part is what I do differently. I don't just sit and wait for it to rise because I don't know. I just haven't had very much luck with just having it rise. So I put my water as hot as I can get it from my sink. I'll put it in this bowl here. Then I set this bowl inside of it and let it rise, because then I know I have a consistent temperature that my bread is rising at. And it's just one of those technical things that I do because in the past I was never very successful at making bread, like I've already said, and this just seems to be the no-fail recipe for me. So I just put it in the bowl here. It keeps it warm. Cover it up with a towel, and I'll be back as soon as it doubles in size, which it usually goes pretty quickly because it's actually sitting in the hot water. Okay, I'm back. I would say it's been, I got distracted. It's probably been about 40 minutes. So here is how well it rose up. So you don't have to do this, but I always think it's fun to just punch it down, see all the air bubbles go out. And my next step is I'm going to put it back out on the counter, and I'm just going to break it into 2 pieces, knead it lightly, and then get it in the pan. Okay, it's nice and squishy and spongy. So it's usually at this point I just kind of make my best guess, cut it in half, and since my scale was handy, I got it out. Sometimes I'll just weigh them since I'm making 2 loaves. Like I said, most people could probably skip these steps, but for me, it just helps me, just being more exact about it. There's a little bit less, so I'll just put a little bit it on and it's about right. Okay. Then basically what I do is I just kind of knead it a little bit. I'm going to get it into a good form. Squish a little bit of the air bubbles out. And then I'll just start to roll it so it's the size of the pan. I usually put some of the non-stick coating in the pan. Well, not usually, I always do. Pinch this really hard. I don't know why, maybe somebody can tell me. I don't know if it's the way I'm rolling this, but lately it's been coming up like half the side will come up and like bulge out. So it's still good bread. It still tastes really good. It just has this weird bulge coming out the side. So I found that if I really pinch it, it does better. So we will see. Get these in the pan, and then I'll be right back. Okay, now this is one of my last steps that I do. Just like I put the dough in a bowl when I was letting it rise. This is my last step when I have the bread already formed and in the pan. Then I still put some hot water in the sink and I set the pans inside of it. And I will let it do the second rise here. And I'll cover it, and I'll check back as soon as I think it might be ready, probably about a half an hour. Bread's been rising for about 20 minutes, and I'm going to put it in the oven, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all finished. Sure smells good, and it's not even cooking yet. Well, here's the bread. It's done. That one didn't pooch out too much. This one still did. This is where, if you can help me know what I'm doing wrong. I never used to do this. I don't know if it's how I'm rolling it, or it must be how I'm rolling it. So basically the bread's done, except I always put a little bit of vegetable oil or butter on the top. Just softens it up a little bit and makes it look nice and shiny and pretty. And this is what I do. This is my no-fail bread. It has never failed me, and I am so happy about that, because when you set out to make bread, it's so much work. Well, not really a lot of work. It just takes time, a little bit of planning, and it's always wonderful when it turns out. And so this is it. This is Pretend Farmer Girl signing out. I think I'm going to have a piece of bread. Oh. This is the bread. It's still a little bit warm, but I wanted to show you the texture, how it looks. It's very nice and spongy. It's delicious. At least it looks delicious. I'm going to take a bite. That's delicious. You take a bite. Yep, that pretty much settles it. Best bread ever. So easy to make. I hope you'll try it. This Pretend Farmer Girl signing out.